We have two very special guests today. We have Thomas Gilbert, who is the founder of Project 8 Sports, now known as the Northern Super League. And he founded it with Diana Matheson and is part of the Smith Business School Executive MBA that you guys did together. And we also have Christina Litz, who spent 5 years with the CFL as Chief Marketing, Digital and Strategy Officer before serving as Woodbine's Vice President, Business Development and Revenue. And then you joined True North, leading the commercial side of the parent company to the NHL's Winnipeg Jets and AHL's Manitoba Moose, and then just recently named NSL's president. So welcome to you both. And I thought today we'd have a great discussion about NSL.
Great to be here. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
All.
Yeah. And listen, Tom, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people, I mean, you're kind of in the shadows there a little bit, backlit. We can't see your face too well, but we don't know a whole heck of a lot about you. So Diana recently was announced, I think with Christina, your appointment as president, that she's going to transition to the role of Chief Growth Officer. And Tom, you're also shifting roles. So can we officially call you CEO of NSL Ottawa now?
Yeah, I guess so. It's funny, when we started Project 8 years ago now, Dee and I made a deal that she would be the face of the thing and I wouldn't have to do any of these. And that deal has sort of fallen through with this change. So yeah, I'm now the CEO of NSL Ottawa.
And so what does that entail? Like, what does it mean for you in terms of your day-to-day, like really working on league stuff on a day-to-day basis, and then now you're working for a franchise as the new CEO and voice of the Ottawa franchise?
Yeah, so I think the important distinction is that Project 8 and the league are two different things, and they always have been. And so where Project 8 was going to fit into the league is something that was sort of always a point of discussion, and where we've landed is that Project 8 has taken ownership of the Ottawa franchise, with myself as the lead. So I'm not in a league role at all anymore. I've transitioned completely out of that. And actually, like, as we were setting up the league entity, that change was in the process of happening, with Christina taking over as the senior leader of the league. So I'm now just building a club from the ground up. It started with pulling together an amazing group of investors, and now hiring, and we've got a big announcement tomorrow, actually, with a whole bunch of stuff.
Which is what, Tom? Like, can we take? No, I'm just kidding. Tell us now.
Breaking news.
Can
you give us a little teaser without divulging all the details?
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll be talking about what the club is going to be. We'll be talking about who's going to be leading the club, and sort of timelines for next steps and next announcements and that kind of thing.
That's great. So can you give us, just back up a little bit, like more, the Tom, I've seen you at various league functions, at games like that. And then you're also, the listeners will be interested to know that you spent time in the Voyager section of BMO with myself and Craig Forrest at that Nations League game against Honduras. Yeah. So maybe tell us a little bit about your relationship to soccer and your business background before you met Dee as part of the Smith School of Business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was first introduced to the game when I was about 6 years old. I played growing up. I will admit that when I started working on Project 8, every day after lunch, Diana would spend an hour teaching me about the world of soccer and specifically women's soccer, because I had a lot of catching up to do. And it's been a really amazing journey. She's sort of opened my eyes to the world of women's soccer, and it's so inspiring and such an amazing space to be working in.
And then maybe just before, sorry, Shams, go ahead.
I was just saying, when Diana first pitched to you the idea of a professional Canadian soccer league, were you all in straight away? Did you take some convincing at some point?
Yeah, I mean, it was less of a pitch and more. So we worked together in the program in the MBA, for like 9 months. And whenever it was her turn to lead a project, it was about women's professional soccer. And so I wasn't sort of pitched. It was more of a natural, organic progression of, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I want to learn more about this. And then, we started sort of getting to know each other outside of the program. We talked about, what she was working on a lot. And by the time she actually, she sent me a voice note and said, hey, do you want to partner up and make this happen? It was a no-brainer for me. I was already all in.
What about Tom? Ottawa itself as a city, it's got a pretty rich and vibrant history of women's soccer success. So how do you tap into that in part of what you're unveiling tomorrow is around the branding and the name? And was there a challenge in sort of reconciling what has already happened and sort of established success for women's soccer, and then really forging a vision for the future and what you want to establish and take root as part of the NSL franchise?
I wouldn't say that there's a challenge. I think we're going to really focus on being community first and community driven. I think that, as you said, that Ottawa has such an incredible soccer community, and if we can tap into that, I think we're going to be really successful.
Christina, I'm always interested in the broadcast side of things and distribution. How do you get eyeballs on this league? And we're looking at the CPL right now. They've been struggling since day one. They're getting there slowly but surely. We won't get into the whole, Rogers, Bell, One Soccer and nonsense right now. But you've got deals signed with TSN, with CBC. How much say will the league have on distribution and the look of the broadcast?
Well, first of all, nice to meet all of you. And to answer that question, we have total say over the distribution of our games. It was actually an important strategic pillar that Tom and Diana created when they started Project 8. They know how important it is to get as many eyeballs on the product that's going to be awesome as possible. And taking cues from some of the startup leagues, including our friends at the PWHL, it was important for us from the beginning to ensure we were as widely distributed as possible, and we were lucky enough to get early support from the Bell Media folks with TSN and RDS on the French side. And then CBC came in with its interest and support, earlier this year. And, so we've got a healthy amount of games that will be on linear channels, and all of the other games will be, free to everybody on digital platforms right now. We're producing the games. So again, that gives us total kind of control over the storytelling, over the way we present ourselves, working with some of the best experts in the industry. Dome Productions is coming on as our production partner, and we just onboarded Kelly Scholdice as our VP of Content and Brand, who has an extensive background in content and broadcast production. And so, yeah, I again, it's important for us to really get people looking into this. So now we're just getting into the weeds of what that will look like, and looking at the different storytelling segments, and we're getting such support from both CBC and TSN, and you can see what an incredible job they do when they lean in. And so I think the combination of all of that gives us a really good shot of really building that fan base that will be so critically needed to grow the league.
You mentioned storytelling there a couple times, and I love that, because I think that's what women footballers, but women athletes here in Canada have been lacking. Like, as people asking, okay, when's your next World Cup? When's your next Olympics? And unaware that they toil somewhere else in a different part of the world because it wasn't available here in our own backyards to play pro. So how do you leverage that via linear, via digital, league wide, but also franchise specific, so that people can really latch on and get to know these players? Well,
you nailed it exactly. Is the best thing about sports is stories, and the stories from the athletes, and that journey that even if you're not an athlete, you can relate to the struggles, the toil that they go through, and then seeing it to the end with success is just the most compelling content you can consume right now. And the leagues that do this best and the teams that do this best are approaching that across every single platform right now. So we're deep in strategy on what that looks like. And actually, even in the coming weeks, we'll be unveiling new content. We're going to start telling those stories on our own platforms now, starting with editorial, but obviously moving into video and other platforms that you guys do so well, and working with folks like you to make sure we're getting you those stories, so that by the time our players hit the pitch coming this season, you're going to know a little bit about who they are, and we'll be looking for a number of ways, not only to connect with the existing football community in Canada, but really it's that broader community. And like you said, Amy, you see that come out at Olympics and World Cups, but we need to do this all the time. Yeah. And I think what those events show, though, and some of the ratings that we even saw during this Olympics, is there is a market for it. And we keep on seeing this over and over and over again, not only with football, but more and more with women's sports. And so that leads us to be really optimistic that we have a good chance of being successful if we can keep our, foot to the pedal and keep feeding that demand. So more to come in the weeks and months ahead as we bring people on board and continue those strategy discussions and implementation leading into the season start.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that the storytelling, marketing these players is key, but you need players, right, before you market them. How far are we away from, those announcements? Listen, I know it's next season. I understand that this, season's still in the midst of it. But how close are you to making that first statement?
Very close. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Tom can break something tomorrow. No, no, the clubs are obviously with the timelines ahead of us. There is activity happening, and so all I can say is stay tuned. I don't want to tie anybody to a particular date, and maybe Tom, you want to from a club perspective, reflect on what's happening at the club level, but suffice to say, we're close, and I think we'll be hearing some announcements soon. Tom, do you want to add on to that at all?
Tom, tell us who your first signing is.
Yeah, me too.
Amy Walsh.
Oh boy, you're in trouble, Tom. You're in a lot of trouble.
It is Amy Walsh, actually. No.
Terrible move.
Yeah.
Terrible.
We're not going to be announcing any players tomorrow, but Christina's right. It is coming soon. There are a lot of great conversations happening. Obviously, we have to work within the global systems of transfers and signings, and there are seasons happening right now that limit what we can do and what we can say. But yeah, it's I would say weeks, not months.
What's a long-term goal of the league? Is there a maximum number of teams that you want to have? Eventually, are you planning on maybe having a second division? Will there be promotion, relegation? These discussions that you've had about the long-term goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tom and Diana have talked about their vision quite a bit, and certainly we see expansion in our near future over the coming seasons, and good active conversations happening in a lot of markets. So we're optimistic that this grows. Look, our objective, has been to be a top 5 women's league in the world, and that means from every aspect. And so all of the things that go into that are strategy discussions that we're looking at happening, and grounding all of it is really providing opportunity for the tremendous player pool we have on the girls and women's side in this country to be able to play in their communities and in front of fans and achieve greatness within that system. So certainly, whether it's relegation systems or academies tied to the main clubs, or both. I mean, these are all the longer term strategy discussions we have as our ownership groups come together to dive deep on a lot of those issues. But we're really laser focused on getting this league out and the year one, season one, as strong as possible.
I was going to ask Tom. We had Rick Westhead on last week or 2 weeks now, and he had one of the best backgrounds ever. Until now, I see Parliament Hill in the background, and I think if I'm there you go. And if you're like in the Elgin area, like where I'm from, Ottawa. How did you choose Ottawa as your hometown? Is it your hometown, or why did you choose Ottawa as your place, considering you came from one of the co-founders with Diana?
Tom, don't tell them exactly where you live.
Tell me exactly where I'm there in 4.5 hours.
And by the way, I have a cat with a dress in my background, so I don't know why he gets all.
I can't because I have crappy eyes.
It's too far away, Christina.
Yeah.
Need a close up of that after.
I'm in the Byward Market area.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty excited about the background that I've got here. Why did I choose Ottawa? So, I mean, I call myself a Canadian through and through. I've lived on the Atlantic and Pacific coast. I've lived in 6 provinces over my career. And my family has always had a connection to Ottawa. We had a family place just north of the city. This is where I spend, Christmases, Thanksgivings, and it has been for my whole life. So
what lake? What Gatineau? Where were you?
Oh, for Christ's sake!
It's it's just outside Wakefield.
Just ignore him.
That's a great question. Why you chose Ottawa? I just got to get more details.
No, absolutely. So I mean, I guess throughout my life, it's sort of been the only static point, and so it's a natural place to come back to for sure, and it does feel like coming home.
I wanted to ask you, Tom, about Ottawa specifically. So I've been advising the Montreal franchise here, and I'm obviously making sure that league-wide, in the branding and everything around the team, that there's that bilingual aspect, but that it's clearly rooted in the Quebec history. What did you have to consider from an Ottawa perspective? Obviously bilingualism, but what else came into it? And did you have to consider heavily when you were looking at your branding and your name, without divulging anything? But was that a specific challenge when you were doing all that?
Challenge or opportunity. But yeah, it was definitely something that we took into consideration. There were a lot of names that we, considered and liked, but just did not translate. And so we had to, drop them from the running. And then, there are a lot of other considerations. I speak a bit of French. I'm going to have to learn more. But things like, who's going to MC our launch event, we needed to find somebody who was bilingual.
Who is that idiot you got?
Who would that be, Tom?
Is that tomorrow's announcement?
Who
about
that
the MC?
charismatic person might be? Who would that be?
The first signing of the NSL.
I think it's an opportunity for sure, and it's a community that is bilingual. So even when we look at the player pool that we have access to, I think that it's going to be more attractive for a broader group of players because it has that.
And Christina was talking about.
The big name MC you've just teased us with. They will be hosting tomorrow's event.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Can we say who that person is?
Of course.
It will be me. I mean, it was pretty heavy-handed. I think we all knew it was me.
And announcing yourself as the first signing.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling it.
To the surprise of everyone.
So
I might show up in
13-year contract.
I might show up in the same dress as the cat in Christina's background. Who knows?
No, wear your TSN green. Go with that.
What's that?
TSN dubbed. We're your TSN green one, the one that Craig likes so much.
Oh
Go with
no,
that
because
tomorrow.
then if anything else on social media, then people can manipulate it. Remember that when the
Oh,
Queen wore the
yeah.
green dress?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. The
No,
optics
Yeah,
don't
you
do
want to stay
green.
away.
No,
You have to
no.
stay away from green.
Yeah, you don't want to key that out. You can do what you want. Yeah.
No, but it
Christine,
should be very exciting.
On a brand level, we always talk about my background's in marketing. You're always talking about inertia, and the inertia you have to change to get eyeballs to ensure that your brand isn't just seen but is felt by community, to especially in live events and television broadcast, to change lifestyles, because that's what you're trying to do. Where you're, hey, there's 3 hours I have to go up to a stadium. I have to turn on the channel from watching whatever I'm watching, YouTube videos or NFL football or all of these things. What is the inertia you have to change to Tom's point? It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. What is that inertia?
Yeah, well, suffice to say, it's hard to sell a ticket to anything right now, and depending on the market you're in, you have a tremendous amount of competition from all sorts of things going on, and then add on top of it the share of wallet in discretionary spending in somewhat difficult economic times for a lot of people, where these things become optional. We do have a big challenge ahead of us. But what I see happening at the clubs right now, and really that's largely in their hands to activate and bring to life, and certainly the league will be there to support them. We see it already. I mean, if you're following the Halifax Tide folks on their social channels, they're in there now constantly with their community, and really ingratiating themselves to the city and to the events going on. And having I just was with the Winnipeg Jets, where there's such a connection, emotional connection between the fans and its city, and the folks that end up getting people butts in seats are the ones that really invest in that. And I see a commitment across the board to doing that. And then on top of that, I think you can be rest assured that what we're going to put on the field is going to be a great product. Put on the pitch is a great product, and I think it's going to be an affordable option for a lot of families and young people and anybody to come out to. So you're seeing a lot of that in the successful sports and entertainment right now. There's sort of two macro trends happening, which is the big premium, nobody can afford it except corporate, and then that kind of the clubs and teams that are making it affordable and fun and accessible are having a lot of success. And I feel like that's in our DNA of the clubs and how they're approaching their markets. And so we're all working together to learn from each other and to share best practices. We have weekly, several times a week, as Tom knows, conversations where there's so much sharing going on between people who bring a lot to the table. So with that, continue to evolve those plans to take advantage of that. But the work starts now with all of our clubs.
Do you think, excuse me, Christina, Diana's talked about like it's time, right? It's time for professional soccer in Canada. We're late to the party, but she and Tom and everybody else as part of kind of those founding leaders and partners have had the benefit of learning from the missteps of other more established leagues worldwide. And then for you specifically, like your experience and your background in hockey, which is obviously well rooted here in this country, and that other football, the CFL, will that allow you to do the same in your role as president of NSL, like what you've learned in those other realms?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hopefully I bring a perspective that's both from, setting up and operating league infrastructure, which is sort of the first way that I came in to meet and work with Tom and Diana, is just I've had that experience of what it looks like to be in senior leadership at a league and what it takes, all the different elements that come together. But having also spent time at the team side and really experiencing all what's important there, and the importance of connections with local fans and ticket sales and the revenue side of that. It's to add to the mix of all of it. And then I hope, what I like seeing around the table when we talk is a good mix of people who are deeply connected to this game, extremely knowledgeable, go deep, the Dianas of the world, and then having more of a casual sports fan approach around the table, because that's how, at the end of the day, we win here. If we have to bring in, I can't remember what the ratings were, 5.5 million people who are watching the women play in the Olympics. Those aren't avid football fans. That's sports fans. Those are general fans. And so I think in that sense, having those different voices and those different perspectives and around the table, and hopefully I'm one of them, will just allow us to think about this as big as we possibly can, and really have a fan first approach in mind with the broadest definition of that.
And when you see the success of the PWHL you mentioned there, did you anticipate that? Obviously, that must add some real optimism to your vision moving forward.
I don't think anybody anticipated quite what happened, but I think, I don't know, this is overly generalizing, but if you're a woman who watches sports, you're not surprised, right? I think there has been a pent-up demand, and certainly during my time on the men's professional side, you're just constantly asking, why is this just only happening over here? There's a community, there are women playing at an elite level. What is stopping this? And as you dive into it, there's a lot stopping it. There's a lot of systemic things that are happening that need to change. And so, and I think that's what Tom and Diana, they've been aware of those systematic, things in place, and we're doing everything we can to tear that down right now. And the PW got right in front of it and has done us all a big favor in convincing the skeptics and the people who say nobody watches women's sports, nobody will spend nobody will spend their money to watch women's sports. Nobody can have those arguments with us when we go into a sponsorship pitch anymore. And in fact, what they've done is created somewhat of a demand in the market for brands that didn't stand by them from the beginning and can't get in now. And that leads an opportunity for those brands and partners to look at us differently and than they would have a year ago. Not to mention that a lot of the senior marketers, and I think of the folks at Canadian Tire who've been such a support of ours from the beginning, that leadership has changed and is more diverse and bringing different perspectives to the table, and they want change. And when that happens, like you've seen what happened with the NWSL and their ally partnership, and Canadian Tire has been on this side, that's starting to happen at a lot of places, and where the money is, so goes the support from everybody else in the ecosystem. And so it's good timing to come in, but it also comes with a lot of pressure to live up to those expectations that have now been set. The bar's been set very high by the folks at the PW in their first season, and we would be so lucky to have a season that looks anything close to what they did.
And speaking of high expectations, with the other names and branding that have come out with Calgary Wild, Vancouver still has to have their official name because they're not going to be under the Whitecaps banner any longer. Halifax Tides is exciting. Montreal is still coming. And then you tomorrow, Tom, with the Ottawa franchise. But I was wondering, I mean, before we talk about the brilliance of the MC and the event tomorrow, just talking about like the match day experience and the infrastructure that's available to you without naming where you're going to play. What do you envision almost to capitalize on what Christina is saying about getting that, galvanizing the support that's already there, but making it a whole experience, not just the match itself, but everything that's around it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think when I think about match day experience, two things come to mind. The first one is professionalism. When fans show up, it has to feel like it's a professional sporting event, because it is a professional sporting event. And we're going to be putting a lot of work and a lot of investment into making sure that when we create that experience for fans, they know that they're showing up to a world-class event, and supporting a world-class team. And then the second thing, Christina said it, is fun. Fans, they just want to have a good time. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing this amazing trend in sport, creating spaces for casual fans, and making sure that the game day experience is an experience. It's not just about what's happening on the field. It's about the whole thing. It's about making sure that from the minute you get there, you're engaged and you're doing stuff. And that's another major focus for us.
And is there anything before we let you guys go? So thank you so much for your time. You're welcome to come back anytime and chat NSL, chat individual franchises, bring other people on, bring your friends, bring your family members. But is there anything like people local to Ottawa, can they show up to this event?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
So maybe not.
Thanks, Stubbs.
I read that as a Tom no.
And Tom no, yeah.
He's so nice. He doesn't really want to say no, but
yeah. There is like a limited capacity, but up to that capacity, the more the merrier.
Where is it though, Tom? Yeah. Where's the actual event?
The actual event is going to be at TD Place, which is
Lansdowne Park, correct? The old
right.
Lansdowne Park? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Trying hard to find it, Tom.
Space there.
Yeah, I'm tracking you down. I've got find my iPhone on Tom right now.
Wonger might beat me to the punch. Wonger might be your MC for tomorrow.
I'll be hosting. Yeah.
And announced as the first player signing.
Comedy pitch.
Whoever gets there first.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start driving immediately after the record. But thank you so much to you both. Was there anything that you wanted to add before we let you go?
No, that's great. I'll see you tomorrow, Amy. And
sounds
Tom,
great.
Both of you.
Can't wait. It's really exciting. I think there's a real appetite and for this type of information. I think people are starved for not only professional sport or professional football in Canada, but they want to hear from people like you. They want to hear from the people who are leading it, and they're just really anticipating all these details and news kind of trickling down. So looking forward to Toronto.
Great. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming.